The call to coach. The sun dipped below the horizon at Oakwood Middle School, casting a warm golden hue across the soccer field. The fading daylight painted a picture of camaraderie and dedication, with young athletes bustling around, lost in the joy of the game. At the heart of this vibrant scene was Coach Marcus Jackson, a man whose passion for soccer matched his commitment to shaping young lives. Marcus stood tall, his athletic frame exuding confidence as he encouraged his players through their drills. "Come on, Noah. You've got this," he shouted, his voice booming across the field. A young boy named Noah, concentrated and determined, dribbled the ball skillfully between the cones, his eyes focused on Coach Jackson's every move. The sound of sneakers squeaking against the turf echoed around them, a testament to the hard work and dedication of the team. As they gathered around for a much-needed water break, Coach Jackson took a moment to look at each of his players. Their faces, flushed with exertion and excitement, reminded him why he took this job. "All right, team, listen up." His deep voice commanded attention, and the chatter quieted. "We have 2 weeks until the tournament. I know how hard each of you is working, and I'm proud of all of you. Remember, it's not just about winning. It's about playing our best game and supporting each other. Now, let's run through those plays one more time." The practice resumed, and laughter mixed with the sounds of effort as the young athletes executed plays under Coach Jackson's watchful eye. He was more than just a coach. He was a mentor, inspiring them not only in the sport but also in life. He taught them about teamwork, resilience, and the value of hard work. His own journey, a path paved with challenges and triumphs, fueled his desire to uplift these kids. But not everyone shared Coach Jackson's enthusiasm. Unbeknownst to him, trouble was brewing off the field. As the practice wound down, a group of parents gathered by the bleachers, their hushed conversations filled with tension. Among them stood Mr. Thompson, a parent whose discontent had begun to fester. With a scowl etched across his face, he voiced his dissatisfaction about Coach Jackson's position. "Why should a black man be coaching our kids?" Mr. Thompson's voice dripped with disdain, sparking murmurs of agreement from some parents nearby. "We need someone who understands our values. What does he know about our community?" As the sun sank lower, casting long shadows across the field, Coach Jackson remained blissfully unaware of the brewing storm. He was focused on his players, giving them pointers and feedback, unaware that his efforts were being undermined by prejudiced views held by a few. Weeks passed, and the tension grew. The complaints reached the school administration, and the principal, Mrs. Robinson, was forced to address the issue. The pressure mounted, and she knew she had to take a stand. She called for a meeting with the concerned parents, determined to confront the underlying racism and defend Coach Jackson. The next evening, the meeting unfolded in the school auditorium. The room buzzed with an anxious energy as parents filled the seats, eager to voice their concerns. Coach Jackson sat at the front, a mixture of apprehension and determination etched on his face. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he faced the audience, but he was resolute. He would not let the unjust treatment of himself and his players go unchallenged. Mrs. Robinson stepped to the podium, her expression serious. "Thank you all for coming. I want to address the concerns surrounding Coach Jackson's role here. He has worked tirelessly with our students, not just as a coach, but as a role model. We need to ask ourselves what values we want to instill in our children. Is it acceptance, diversity, and hard work, or prejudice and division?" The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. Many parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "We need to remember that the true measure of a coach isn't their race, but their ability to inspire and lead," she continued, her voice firm. "Coach Jackson embodies these qualities, and I refuse to let prejudice dictate our school community." Coach Jackson's heart raced as he listened. He was grateful for Mrs. Robinson's support, but aware of the uphill battle that lay ahead. The murmurs among the parents intensified, some nodding in agreement while others shifted uneasily, clearly not ready to change their views. In that moment, Coach Jackson made a decision. He would not let this negativity deter him from his mission. Instead, he would turn this situation into an opportunity for growth, not just for himself, but for the entire community. He would engage with these parents and show them the importance of diversity and acceptance. As the meeting came to a close, Mrs. Robinson invited Coach Jackson to share his thoughts. He stood up, feeling the weight of his role pressing upon him. "Thank you, Mrs. Robinson," he began, his voice steady. "I know that some of you have concerns about my role as a coach here. I want to assure you that my dedication to these kids goes beyond the game. I care deeply about their growth as individuals and their success on and off the field." He paused, scanning the room filled with wary faces. "I believe in the power of sport to bring people together. Soccer has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. It has taught me discipline, teamwork, and resilience, qualities I want to pass on to these young athletes. I want them to know that no matter where they come from, they can achieve greatness if they work hard and support one another." His heartfelt words hung in the air, and a few parents nodded in agreement. But Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the moment. "You might be a good coach, but how can you truly understand our kids' backgrounds?" he challenged, his tone filled with skepticism. Coach Jackson felt a surge of frustration, but reminded himself to stay calm. Understanding doesn't come from sharing the same background. It comes from listening and learning. I may not have grown up in this community, but I am here to listen to your children and help them grow. I want to be part of their journey, just as much as you do. As the tension in the room began to dissipate, Marcus felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could change some minds and show them that acceptance and diversity were not threats but strengths. As the meeting adjourned, Coach Jackson walked out, aware that the road ahead would not be easy, but he was determined to prove his worth, not just to the skeptical parents, but to the kids who believed in him. He would show them that a coach's value is not defined by the color of their skin, but by their heart and commitment to uplifting others. That night, as he sat in his small apartment, he reflected on the day's events. He recalled the faces of his players, their smiles brightening his darkest days. He thought of Noah, the boy who had struggled at first, but was now showing promise on the field. He realized that he needed to create a movement, not just to fight against prejudice, but to celebrate diversity. And so, with a heart full of determination and a spirit of resilience, Coach Marcus Jackson began to plan how he could make a difference. He knew he had to stand firm against the challenges ahead, and he would do everything in his power to create a positive environment for his players and the entire Oakwood community. Little did he know that the journey was just beginning, and what lay ahead would test his resolve in ways he could never have imagined. The unraveling. Weeks passed since Coach Marcus Jackson's first practice, and the atmosphere at Oakwood Middle School grew increasingly charged. The rumors surrounding Coach Jackson, fueled by Mr. Thompson's complaints, spread through the parent community like wildfire. Each day, the whispers grew louder, and the concerns turned into a torrent of discontent that began to affect the morale of the team and the entire school environment. One afternoon, during a routine meeting, Principal Mrs. Robinson sat at her desk, reviewing the latest correspondence from concerned parents. Her brows furrowed as she read through the emails filled with veiled racism and accusations questioning Coach Jackson's ability to lead the soccer team. The respectful tone of the school's mission statement clashed with the bitter sentiments echoed by the parents. This was not what Oakwood Middle School stood for. In the days that followed, Mrs. Robinson organized a meeting with Coach Jackson. She admired his dedication and the positive impact he had on the students, but she felt compelled to address the growing concerns. "Marcus," she began, her voice steady yet empathetic, "I need to talk to you about some feedback we've been receiving from a few parents." Coach Jackson sat up straighter in his chair, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "Is everything all right, Principal Robinson?" he asked, a hint of concern creeping into his voice. He had noticed some changes in the atmosphere but had brushed them off, thinking it was just the usual noise of middle school politics. "I'm afraid it's not," she replied, taking a deep breath. "There have been complaints, serious ones, about your coaching. Some parents feel you shouldn't be coaching their children, simply because of your race." His heart sank. He had faced prejudice before, but it always hurt to see it manifest in the community he was trying so hard to serve. "I understand that there are people with different perspectives, but I have always believed that the best coach is someone who inspires and connects with their players, regardless of their background," he said, frustration and disappointment coloring his words. Mrs. Robinson nodded, fully aware of the inequity of the situation. "I agree, Marcus, and I want you to know that I support you and the work you're doing here. However, we have to address these complaints head-on. We can't allow this to fester." As the sun set outside her office, casting warm rays through the windows, Mrs. Robinson formulated a plan. "I think it's essential for us to hold a community meeting. We need to come together as a school, as a community, and reaffirm our commitment to diversity and inclusion. You should be there to speak about your vision for the team and your commitment to the students." With a heavy heart, Coach Jackson agreed. He knew he would have to muster all his strength to face the hostile undercurrents of prejudice in the community. The following days were a whirlwind of preparations as the meeting approached. The evening of the meeting arrived, and the school gym buzzed with anxious energy. Parents, teachers, and students filed in, taking their seats under the bright fluorescent lights. Coach Jackson arrived early, pacing nervously near the podium. He could hear snippets of conversations that revealed the mixed feelings in the room. "I don't understand why they hired him in the first place," one parent whispered. "Why can't they just let us have someone who understands our community?" Another replied, their voice heavy with disdain. Despite the hurtful words, Coach Jackson steeled himself for what lay ahead. As he watched the community members gather, he felt a wave of determination wash over him. He wanted to show them that he was not just a coach. He was an ally, a mentor, and a role model for their children. When Principal Robinson stepped up to the podium, the gym fell silent. "Thank you all for coming tonight. This meeting is an opportunity for us to discuss our values as a school and to confront the issues that have surfaced in our community. Our goal is to foster an environment where every child, regardless of their background, feels valued and supported." As she spoke, Coach Jackson could see parents nodding along, but he also noticed some who crossed their arms defensively. The division was palpable, and he knew that their challenge would be to bridge that gap. "Tonight, we also want to hear from Coach Marcus Jackson, who has dedicated himself to our students," Mrs. Robinson continued. "He will share his vision for the soccer team and his commitment to every player." With a nod of encouragement from the principal, Coach Jackson stepped up to the microphone, his heart pounding. He took a moment to gather his thoughts before addressing the room. "Thank you, Principal Robinson, and thank you to everyone for being here tonight," he began, his voice strong yet warm. "I want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to coach at Oakwood Middle School. I have witnessed the incredible talent and potential in each of your children, and it has been a privilege to work with them." He paused, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. "As a coach, my goal is not just to teach soccer. It's to foster teamwork, respect, and resilience. I believe that every child deserves a chance to thrive, regardless of their background or race. My experiences have shaped who I am, and I strive to be a role model for your kids. I want them to see that hard work and dedication can overcome any obstacle." The gym remained quiet, and he could feel the weight of their gazes upon him. He continued, "I know there are concerns, and I respect the feelings of each parent in this room. But I urge you to consider the message we send to our children if we allow prejudice to dictate our actions. If we want them to grow into compassionate, understanding adults, we must model that behavior ourselves." Slowly, he began to see some nods of agreement. There were murmurs of discussion among the crowd, and he could sense the atmosphere shifting slightly. Coach Jackson pressed on. "Let's come together as a community to support our children, to teach them that diversity makes us stronger. Let's show them that talent and character matter far more than the color of one's skin." As he concluded, a wave of applause erupted from some corners of the gym, but he also saw a few parents remain silent, their expressions unreadable. Coach Jackson stepped back, a mixture of relief and anxiety coursing through him. Principal Robinson returned to the podium, her expression earnest. "Thank you, Coach Jackson. Your commitment to our students is evident, and I hope we can all take these words to heart." The evening continued with a discussion panel, but Coach Jackson sensed that the road ahead would be challenging. As the meeting concluded, a few parents approached him, their expressions hesitant but curious. One parent, a woman named Mrs. Hughes, stepped forward. "I didn't agree with everything you said, but I appreciate your passion for our kids. Maybe I need to listen more." Encouraged by this small breakthrough, Coach Jackson smiled. "Thank you for being open to discussion. That's where change begins." As people filed out of the gym, the air felt charged with the promise of transformation. Coach Jackson knew that while he had taken a step forward, the journey toward acceptance and understanding would take time, effort, and continued dialogue. But he was ready for the challenge, determined to keep fighting for the values he believed in. That night, as he drove home, thoughts raced through his mind. He knew that the fight against prejudice was far from over. The community had been shaken awake, and though he had faced the storm, he understood that the real work had only just begun. And as he settled into bed that night, the sounds of the soccer field echoed in his heart. The laughter of the kids, the joy of the game, and the hope that together they could overcome any obstacles in their path. The ripple effect. In the days following the community meeting, Coach Marcus Jackson felt a palpable shift in the atmosphere at Oakwood Middle School. Although the road ahead was laden with obstacles, the dialogue sparked by the meeting had planted seeds of understanding among some parents. Each day, as he stepped onto the soccer field, he felt a renewed sense of purpose and commitment to his players. With the tournament approaching, Coach Jackson ramped up practices, his excitement infectious. The young athletes, eager to learn, responded enthusiastically to his coaching style. They were not just honing their skills on the field, they were also learning valuable life lessons about perseverance and teamwork. "Remember, team," he reminded them during one particularly intense practice. "Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Keep pushing forward." The season progressed, and the Oakwood Eagles, under Coach Jackson's guidance, found their rhythm. They worked on passing drills, shooting accuracy, and defensive strategies, all while laughing and enjoying each other's company. The camaraderie among the players grew, and they began to view Coach Jackson not just as a coach, but as a mentor and friend. Yet, outside the field, the whispers of discontent lingered. Despite the meeting, some parents remained entrenched in their views. Mr. Thompson was still a thorn in Coach Jackson's side, rallying others to express their discontent, hoping to get him removed from his position. One afternoon, as Coach Jackson reviewed game footage with his assistant coach, Tara, he received a text from Principal Robinson. "I need to speak with you urgently. Can you come to my office?" Concerned but composed, he left the gym and made his way down the brightly lit corridors. Upon entering her office, he found Principal Robinson seated at her desk, her expression serious. "Thank you for coming, Marcus," she said, gesturing for him to sit. "We need to address some issues that have arisen since the meeting." Coach Jackson nodded, bracing himself. "I've heard murmurs, but I'm hoping it's just noise. What's going on?" Mrs. Robinson leaned forward, her hands clasped together. "There have been continued complaints from some parents, particularly from Mr. Thompson. He's become more vocal, and now he's threatening to escalate this to the school board. He's convinced that your coaching is negatively impacting the team." A wave of frustration washed over Coach Jackson. "I can't believe this is still happening. All I want is to support these kids and help them grow." "I know," she replied softly, "but we have to be proactive. I want to schedule a follow-up community meeting. This time, I want you to share the impact you've made on the players. Bring them with you." Let their voices be heard. The idea struck a chord with Coach Jackson. He envisioned his players standing beside him, sharing their experiences and showing the community the positive impact he had on their lives. That could work, he said, a sense of determination igniting within him. If the kids share their stories, it might shift the conversation. As they finalized plans for the meeting, Coach Jackson felt a sense of purpose envelop him. He wanted his players to understand the power of their voices and how their stories could affect change. The day of the follow-up meeting arrived, and the air was thick with anticipation. Parents, teachers, and students filled the school auditorium. Coach Jackson's players, now proud representatives of the Eagles, were there, their faces alight with excitement and nervous energy. When Principal Robinson took the stage, she addressed the room with poise. "Thank you all for returning. Tonight is not just about complaints. It's about celebrating our students and their journey. Coach Jackson has had a profound impact on the lives of our young athletes, and we believe their voices matter." As the crowd murmured in agreement, Coach Jackson felt a surge of hope. One by one, he called his players to the stage, encouraging them to share their experiences. Noah, the young boy who had impressed Coach Jackson at their first practice, was the first to speak. "When I joined the team, I was scared. I didn't think I was good enough. But Coach Jackson always believed in me. He taught me that it's okay to fail as long as I keep trying." A wave of applause followed, and Noah stepped back, his face beaming with pride. One by one, other players shared their stories, how Coach Jackson encouraged them to be the best versions of themselves, how he celebrated their victories and supported them through defeats. "Coach Jackson doesn't just teach us soccer," another player added, his voice steady. "He teaches us about being a team, about respect and kindness. It's more than just a game. It's about who we are as people." As each child shared their heartfelt experiences, Coach Jackson felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He glanced at Principal Robinson, who smiled encouragingly, knowing that this was a pivotal moment for both the team and the community. Finally, it was Tara's turn to speak. As Coach Jackson's assistant, she had seen firsthand the dedication he put into coaching. "I've watched Coach Jackson transform these kids," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "He's not just a coach, he's a role model. He cares about them, and that's what makes him exceptional. This is what our children need, someone who genuinely believes in them." As Tara finished, a ripple of applause swept through the audience. The room began to feel electric, and Coach Jackson sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to bridge the gap. But then, the unmistakable voice of Mr. Thompson cut through the applause. "I'm not sure we can trust a man like him with our kids. What do these kids really know about coaching?" The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Coach Jackson felt his heart race. This was the moment he had been preparing for. He stepped forward, locking eyes with Mr. Thompson. "Sir, I respect your opinion," he began calmly. "But these children are not just players on a field. They are learning valuable lessons about resilience, teamwork, and respect. This isn't just about me. It's about what's best for them. You heard their stories. They trust me, and I believe in them." Mr. Thompson opened his mouth to retort, but Coach Jackson continued, his voice unwavering. "If we don't trust each other, how can we expect our children to trust us? I'm here for them, and I will always put their best interests first." Slowly, murmurs of agreement began to rise from different sections of the auditorium. Parents who had previously sat on the sidelines were now nodding in solidarity. A woman in the back shouted, "We need more coaches like you." Encouraged by the support, Coach Jackson seized the moment. "Together, we can create an environment where our children thrive, where they are seen for their potential rather than their backgrounds. Let's work together to build that community." The applause grew louder, echoing through the auditorium. Coach Jackson could feel the tide turning, the anger and resistance beginning to wane. After the meeting concluded, several parents approached Coach Jackson, some expressing apologies and others offering their support. Mrs. Robinson, visibly relieved, thanked him for his bravery and dedication. "You did an incredible job tonight, Marcus," she said, a proud smile illuminating her face. "You've shown them the power of unity and understanding." As he drove home that night, Coach Jackson reflected on the events of the evening. Though there was still work to be done, he felt a renewed sense of hope. The meeting had ignited a conversation, one that could lead to meaningful change. He knew the journey would be long, but he was committed to making a difference, not just for himself, but for the young athletes who looked up to him. When he arrived home, he felt exhausted yet fulfilled. He looked around his living room, a space filled with family photos and memories, and thought about the lessons he wanted to impart to his players. He grabbed a pen and paper, jotting down ideas for the next practice, a new strategy, a motivational quote, a plan to foster even greater unity among the team. And as he turned off the lights and settled into bed, he knew that the fight against prejudice was ongoing, but he was prepared to meet it head-on, armed with the strength of his players and the support of the community. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Coach Jackson was ready to face them, one practice at a time, confronting the past. As the weeks progressed, the atmosphere at Oakwood Middle School shifted significantly. The follow-up community meeting had been a turning point, fostering a sense of unity and understanding among parents, students, and faculty. Coach Marcus Jackson felt invigorated by the support he had received, but he also knew that the journey ahead would not be easy. The echoes of Mr. Thompson's comments still lingered in the air, reminding him of the resistance he faced, but he remained determined to continue building bridges within the community. With the tournament looming, Coach Jackson was eager to focus on his team. They had come so far together, not just in terms of skill, but also in character. Practices had transformed from mere drills to sessions filled with laughter, encouragement, and shared triumphs. One day, during practice, the team gathered around Coach Jackson as he introduced a new drill aimed at enhancing their teamwork. "All right, team," he said, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Today we're going to work on our passing skills, but with a twist. I want you to communicate with each other every step of the way. Use your voices, use your movements. Make sure everyone is involved." The kids responded eagerly, their excitement palpable as they paired up. The practice unfolded in a symphony of shouts and laughter, each player striving to connect with one another. Coach Jackson felt pride swell in his chest as he observed their determination and teamwork. This was the essence of the game, building bonds that extended beyond the field. However, amidst the laughter, Coach Jackson noticed Noah, the young boy who had first spoken at the community meeting, standing a little apart from the others. His brow was furrowed in concentration, his eyes downcast as he fiddled with the hem of his jersey. Concerned, Coach Jackson approached him, kneeling to be at eye level. "Hey Noah, is everything all right? You seem a bit off today." Noah hesitated, then spoke in a low voice. "I just feel like I'm not good enough, Coach. I keep messing up my passes, and I'm worried I'll let the team down." Coach Jackson smiled gently, recognizing a familiar struggle in Noah's expression. "Let me tell you something, buddy," he began. "Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how we learn from them and support each other along the way. You're part of this team, and we're all in it together. Trust yourself, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we grow." Noah's eyes brightened, and he nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll try." "Good," Coach Jackson said, giving him a reassuring pat on the back. Before returning to the drill, his heart warmed by the exchange. It was moments like these that reaffirmed his purpose as a coach. He wasn't just teaching soccer, he was nurturing young minds and helping them build confidence. As the tournament day approached, excitement buzzed throughout the school. Banners adorned the hallways, and teachers encouraged students to show their support for the Oakwood Eagles. Yet Coach Jackson was acutely aware of the underlying tension. Despite the progress they had made as a team, he knew that the specter of prejudice still loomed over them. The day of the tournament dawned bright and clear. parents and students filled the stands, their voices a mix of cheers and excitement. Coach Jackson felt a surge of pride as he looked at his team, all wearing their matching jerseys, their faces lit with enthusiasm. They had trained hard, and now it was time to showcase their skills. As the first game began, Coach Jackson watched intently, guiding his players from the sidelines. The Eagles displayed remarkable teamwork, executing plays with precision and spirit. Noah, in particular, shone brightly, breaking free from his earlier doubts and scoring a stunning goal that sent the crowd into a frenzy. "Great job, Noah. That's the spirit," Coach Jackson yelled, clapping enthusiastically. The cheers of parents and students filled the air, and for a moment, it seemed as if the ghosts of prejudice had been silenced, replaced by a collective celebration of achievement. However, the joy was short-lived. As the Eagles continued their matches, Coach Jackson noticed Mr. Thompson in the stands, his arms crossed tightly, his expression sour. It was evident that he was not there to support the team. Coach Jackson tried to ignore him, focusing instead on his players and their performance. The Eagles advanced through the tournament, winning each match with growing confidence. But as they reached the finals, tension began to mount. Coach Jackson sensed that Mr. Thompson's presence was becoming more vocal. During a break between games, Coach Jackson overheard him speaking with another parent. "This isn't a game. It's a reflection of our school's standards. We shouldn't have a coach like him leading our children. He doesn't belong here." The words struck Coach Jackson like a blow, but he refused to let them define his experience. He turned away and approached his team, gathering them together for one last pep talk before the final match. "Listen up, Eagles. Today is about more than just winning. It's about showing everyone what we've built together. Play with heart, support one another, and leave everything on the field. Let's show them who we are." With that, the Eagles took to the field for the final match, their spirits high and their determination unyielding. The whistle blew, and the game commenced, a flurry of energy and movement as the players danced around each other, working together to outmaneuver their opponents. Throughout the match, Coach Jackson shouted words of encouragement, guiding his players as they executed their strategies. Each goal scored was met with cheers from the stands, but through it all, he could feel Mr. Thompson's eyes boring into him, a constant reminder of the prejudice that still lurked beneath the surface. As the match approached its climax, the Eagles found themselves down by one goal. Tensions ran high, and Coach Jackson sensed a wave of doubt washing over his players. They gathered for a brief timeout, their faces drawn with concern. "Look at me," Coach Jackson said firmly, kneeling to their level. "This is our moment. We've come too far to let fear hold us back. Trust in yourselves and each other. Remember what we've practiced. You are a team, and together you can achieve anything." With renewed vigor, the Eagles returned to the field. As the seconds ticked down, Noah received the ball near the goal. Time seemed to slow as he made a daring run, dodging defenders with newfound confidence. Coach Jackson held his breath, willing Noah to believe in himself. Then, with a swift movement, Noah shot the ball into the net, scoring the equalizer just as the final whistle blew. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Coach Jackson felt tears of pride sting his eyes. The team had fought back, proving that they were more than capable, regardless of the challenges they faced. In the moments that followed, the Eagles celebrated their hard-fought victory, but Coach Jackson's heart swelled not just for the win, but for the transformation he had witnessed within his players. They had learned to rise above their doubts, support one another, and embrace their differences as strengths. As the crowd began to disperse, Coach Jackson caught sight of Mr. Thompson, who stood in stunned silence. The man's arms had dropped from their crossed position. His expression softened as he absorbed the reality of what he had witnessed. Perhaps, just perhaps, he had underestimated the power of unity and resilience. Before he could overthink it, Coach Jackson approached Mr. Thompson, his heart racing. "Thank you for supporting our team today," he said, extending his hand. I believe we're all working toward the same goal here. What's best for our kids. Mr. Thompson hesitated but eventually reached out and shook Coach Jackson's hand. I may have been too harsh, he admitted, his voice low. You've done a good job with these kids. Coach Jackson nodded, feeling the weight of their encounter. It's all about the kids, isn't it? They deserve the best we can give them. And I truly believe we can create an environment that fosters growth for all of them, no matter who they are. As the two men spoke, a group of parents began to gather, drawn by the spirit of camaraderie that had formed. They shared their own stories of how the team had affected their children and expressed their support for Coach Jackson. In that moment, the air felt different, lighter, infused with hope and understanding. It was as if a small yet significant shift had taken place within the community. The shadows of doubt and prejudice began to fade, replaced by a shared commitment to inclusivity and acceptance. As Coach Jackson made his way back to his team, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had fought hard for their victory, not just on the field, but in their fight against prejudice and misunderstanding. The journey was far from over, but as he looked at the faces of his players, bright, confident, and proud, he knew they were ready to face whatever came next, together. The tournament had revealed not just the strength of their team, but also the resilience of the community. Coach Jackson was no longer just a coach. He was a catalyst for change. And with that realization, he knew that his fight for equality and understanding would continue, both on and off the field. The next chapter awaited, filled with new challenges and opportunities for growth, and he was ready to embrace it all. The aftermath of change. As the echoes of celebration faded from the Oakwood Middle School soccer field, Coach Marcus Jackson felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. The tournament victory had unified the community and brought forth a wave of support, but he understood that true change was a continuous journey. With newfound momentum, Coach Jackson set out to ensure that the spirit of unity cultivated during the tournament would endure long after the final whistle had blown. In the days following the tournament, Coach Jackson organized a meeting with the school's administration and the parents of the soccer team. He wanted to harness the energy from their recent success and channel it into creating a more inclusive environment within the school community. The goal was to form a support network for all students, emphasizing empathy, collaboration, and understanding, regardless of their backgrounds. The meeting room buzzed with anticipation as parents and faculty gathered. Coach Jackson opened the discussion with heartfelt words. Thank you all for being here today. Our recent tournament wasn't just a victory on the field, it was a turning point for our community. It's essential that we build on this momentum to ensure our school is a welcoming place for every student, regardless of their race, gender, or background. As he spoke, he could see the mixed expressions on the faces of the parents. Some nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical. However, the palpable tension in the room didn't deter him. We have an opportunity to foster an environment where every child feels valued and supported. We can create programs that promote diversity, awareness, and respect. I want to hear your thoughts and ideas on how we can make this happen. After his introduction, several parents stepped forward, inspired by Coach Jackson's passion. One mother, Maria, spoke up. I believe we should organize workshops and seminars that focus on cultural awareness. It could help parents and students understand one another better. We can also involve local leaders and guest speakers to share their experiences. Another parent, Mr. Patel, chimed in. I love that idea. Perhaps we could have regular community meetings to discuss challenges our children face, giving them a platform to voice their concerns. This could be a great way to address any issues before they escalate. As the discussion unfolded, Coach Jackson felt a sense of hope swelling within him. Ideas flowed freely as parents shared their perspectives, many of them recounting their own experiences with prejudice and misunderstanding. The conversation gradually shifted from hesitation to enthusiasm, and by the end of the meeting, they had laid the groundwork for a series of events designed to foster community cohesion and understanding. The following weeks were filled with planning and preparation. Coach Jackson collaborated with the school's administration to establish a diversity and inclusion committee, which would be responsible for organizing workshops, cultural events, and community outreach programs. He invited students to participate, believing that their voices were essential in shaping a positive environment. One day after school, Coach Jackson found himself surrounded by a group of enthusiastic students eager to contribute. Among them was Noah, who had come a long way since the tournament. His confidence had blossomed, and he was eager to play an active role in promoting change within the school. "Coach, I have an idea," Noah said, excitement shining in his eyes. "What if we create a buddy system where students can pair up with someone from a different background? It could help us learn more about each other and build friendships." "Fantastic idea, Noah," Coach Jackson replied, feeling proud of the young man's initiative. Connecting with someone new can break down barriers and foster understanding. Let's present this idea to the committee. As the committee continued to meet, they brainstormed ways to implement Noah's idea. They planned events where students could share their cultures, including food fairs, storytelling sessions, and collaborative art projects. The enthusiasm was contagious, and the committee's meetings became a space where students, parents, and teachers could come together to share their stories and experiences. Despite the positive momentum, challenges emerged. Not everyone in the community was on board with the changes. Coach Jackson received anonymous emails filled with hateful language, echoing the sentiments expressed by Mr. Thompson. While disheartening, he refused to let negativity deter him from his mission. Instead, he shared the emails with the committee, emphasizing the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. Change is often met with resistance, Coach Jackson reminded the group during a meeting. But we must remain steadfast in our commitment to creating a positive environment for our students. Let's not forget that our efforts are for the future of this community. In response to the hate mail, the committee decided to host a Community Unity Day event. They envisioned a day where everyone could come together to celebrate diversity, share their stories, and engage in activities that promote inclusivity. The event would feature food from various cultures, performances by local artists, and interactive booths that showcase different traditions. As the day approached, the excitement in the community grew. Flyers were distributed, and word spread like wildfire. The event promised to be a monumental celebration of the progress Oakwood Middle School had made since the tournament. Coach Jackson knew it would also be a critical moment to showcase that the community would not be swayed by hatred or prejudice. On the day of the event, the school grounds transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors and cultures. Banners adorned with messages of unity fluttered in the breeze, and the aroma of diverse cuisines filled the air. Students and families gathered, eager to participate in the festivities. Coach Jackson stood at the entrance, welcoming families as they arrived. His heart swelled with pride as he watched the school community come together. The energy was palpable, and he knew that today would be a defining moment. As the event kicked off, students showcased their talents through music, dance, and art. Noah and his friends took the stage to present their buddy system initiative, sharing stories of the friendships they had formed and the lessons they had learned from one another. Their bravery inspired others to embrace the idea and join the movement toward understanding. Throughout the day, conversations blossomed as families interacted with one another, forging connections across cultural lines. Coach Jackson moved through the crowd, engaging with parents and students, absorbing the joy and camaraderie that filled the air. The event exceeded his expectations, demonstrating that community could triumph over prejudice and division. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the gathering, Coach Jackson took to the stage to address the crowd. He felt the weight of the moment as he looked out at the faces illuminated by the setting sun. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice steady and filled with emotion. "Today isn't just a celebration of our diverse cultures. It's a testament to our commitment to each other as a community. We've come together not just to acknowledge our differences, but to celebrate our shared humanity." The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of enthusiasm washing over him. "Let us carry this spirit of unity forward. Together, we can create an environment where every student feels safe, valued, and inspired to reach their full potential. Our journey doesn't end here. It's just the beginning." With those words, Coach Jackson felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He had seen the community transform before his eyes, and he knew that together they could continue to dismantle the walls that prejudice had built. The work was far from over, but with each step they took, they were paving the way for a brighter future for Oakwood Middle School, a future defined by love, acceptance, and understanding. The applause continued, and as the event drew to a close, Coach Jackson felt an overwhelming sense of hope. He understood that change required time, effort, and commitment, but with the community rallying around their shared vision, he was confident that they would rise above the challenges ahead. With the darkness of the evening settling in, Coach Jackson gazed around at the families mingling, laughter echoing in the air. For him, this was not just a celebration. It was a promise that the lessons learned would endure, and that Oakwood Middle School would continue to grow as a beacon of hope and unity in an often divided world. Together, they would keep moving forward, breaking barriers and embracing the strength found in diversity. The ripple effect of change. As the last remnants of the Community Unity Day celebration faded into the night, Coach Marcus Jackson stood on the empty school field, reflecting on the incredible journey that had unfolded over the past few months. The joyous laughter and vibrant energy that had filled the air just hours earlier still resonated in his heart. The unity he had witnessed that day was a powerful reminder of the strength that came from collaboration and understanding. In the weeks that followed, the momentum from the event carried forward into Oakwood Middle School, invigorating not only the students but also the entire community. The Diversity and Inclusion Committee met regularly to implement the ideas generated during the event. Workshops on cultural sensitivity became a monthly fixture, with parents, teachers, and students all participating. These gatherings transformed the once divided conversations into rich dialogues about shared experiences, heritage, and the beauty of diversity. Coach Jackson remained at the helm of these initiatives, driven by the impact they were having on the students and the community. He felt a renewed sense of purpose and responsibility, recognizing that he was not only a coach, but also a catalyst for change. With every workshop, he saw the students blossom as they engaged in meaningful conversations, developed friendships across cultural lines, and embraced each other's differences. One of the most rewarding aspects of this journey was watching students like Noah flourish. The once shy boy who had struggled with confidence now stood tall as a leader in his school, inspiring others to speak up and share their stories. Coach Jackson had encouraged Noah to take the lead in organizing a new initiative called Cultural Exchange Days, where students would host events focused on different cultures represented in the school. These events showcased everything from traditional dances to culinary demonstrations, fostering appreciation and respect among classmates. As the first Cultural Exchange Day approached, anticipation filled the school. Students worked together to prepare presentations and performances, eager to celebrate their heritage while learning about their peers. Coach Jackson knew that this event would solidify the bonds forged during Community Unity Day and further cement the commitment to inclusion within the school. On the day of the event, the hallways of Oakwood Middle School buzzed with excitement. Colorful decorations adorned the walls, and each classroom transformed into a mini cultural hub. Coach Jackson walked through the halls, taking in the vibrant energy, and felt a sense of pride wash over him. This was not just an event, it was a celebration of identity and community. As the students presented their cultures through dance, music, and storytelling, the atmosphere became electric. Laughter and applause echoed in the auditorium as the audience engaged with the performances. Coach Jackson watched from the sidelines, his heart swelling with pride as he saw Noah take the stage to present a traditional dance from his heritage. The courage he displayed inspired others to embrace their cultural identities, and the room filled with encouragement and applause. But as the event progressed, an unexpected turn of events began to unfold. During one of the presentations, a group of students from different backgrounds collaborated to showcase a piece that highlighted their experiences with racism and prejudice. Their performance was raw and powerful, filled with emotion and a desire for change. As they spoke about their struggles and the importance of solidarity, the audience fell silent, captivated by their bravery. The heartfelt performance served as a reminder of the journey they had all embarked upon, reinforcing the need for continued dialogue and action against racism. Coach Jackson recognized the weight of their words and the importance of addressing these issues head-on. He stood up and joined the students on stage, urging the audience to reflect on their own biases and the collective responsibility they shared in dismantling racism. "Today, we celebrate our cultures," he began, his voice resonating through the auditorium. "But we must also acknowledge the struggles many of our peers face. Our differences are what make us unique, but they should never divide us. Let us commit to standing together, to be allies for one another in this fight against prejudice." The room erupted in applause, the energy shifting from celebration to determination. Coach Jackson's words echoed in the hearts of everyone present, igniting a renewed commitment to fostering an inclusive environment. The students recognized that while they had made great strides, the work was far from over. In the months that followed, the cultural exchange days continued to thrive, with students actively engaging in discussions about race, identity, and acceptance. The committee expanded its reach, inviting guest speakers from various backgrounds to share their stories and experiences, encouraging open dialogues about the complexities of race and discrimination. Parents who had once harbored doubts about the changes now became enthusiastic participants, eager to contribute to the dialogue surrounding diversity and inclusion. However, not all were supportive of this positive transformation. Coach Jackson remained vigilant, aware that resistance could arise from those unwilling to embrace change. In a recent board meeting, one parent, Mr. Thompson, returned with renewed fervor. Armed with supporters who shared his sentiments, he expressed his discontent with the school's efforts to promote diversity. "The school should focus on education, not political correctness," he declared, his voice laced with anger. "This is indoctrination, not inclusion." But Coach Jackson was ready for this challenge. Standing up in front of the board and community members, he calmly addressed Mr. Thompson's concerns. "What we are doing here is not about political correctness. It's about human decency and understanding. Our students need to learn not just math and science, but empathy and compassion. We are preparing them to thrive in a diverse world, and that includes fostering an environment where everyone feels valued." The board members nodded in agreement, acknowledging the importance of inclusivity in education. In a decisive vote, they reaffirmed their commitment to the Diversity and Inclusion Committee and approved additional funding for the initiatives that had taken root in the school. As the school year progressed, Coach Jackson witnessed the profound impact of their efforts. Students who had once felt isolated or marginalized began to find their voices. The camaraderie among the soccer team flourished, transcending cultural boundaries. Even during practices, the team engaged in discussions about race, friendship, and the importance of supporting one another, both on and off the field. As the year came to a close, Coach Jackson reflected on the remarkable transformation that had taken place within Oakwood Middle School. What had started as a tumultuous journey sparked by one parent's complaint had evolved into a movement, a commitment to fostering a culture of inclusivity, understanding, and respect. To celebrate their accomplishments, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee organized a closing event that brought together the entire community. Families gathered for an evening filled with music, food, and inspiring speeches, highlighting the stories of resilience and growth that had emerged throughout the year. Coach Jackson took the stage once more, feeling the warmth of the community surrounding him. "Tonight, we gather not just to celebrate our achievements, but to acknowledge the journey that lies ahead. Let us remember that while we've made significant strides, our work is never truly done. We must remain committed to promoting understanding, embracing diversity, and challenging prejudice wherever it arises." His words resonated deeply, echoing the sentiments of the community. As the night unfolded, stories were shared, connections were made, and the spirit of unity prevailed. The once divided community had come together, each member recognizing the importance of their role in shaping a more inclusive future. As the final notes of the evening's festivities played, Coach Jackson felt an overwhelming sense of pride and hope. He had witnessed the power of resilience, the strength of community, and the transformative impact of empathy and understanding. Together, they had built a foundation for a brighter future, one that embraced differences, celebrated diversity, and fostered a sense of belonging for all. In the months and years to come, the lessons learned at Oakwood Middle School would ripple out into the larger community, inspiring others to embrace change, confront prejudice, and work together toward a more inclusive society. Coach Marcus Jackson understood that this was just the beginning, a foundation built on courage, resilience, and the unwavering belief that together they could create a world where everyone felt valued and empowered to shine.